Oceans form 71% of the Earth's surface, and the water is in constant motion. So, have you ever wondered how these tiny as well as large waves are caused in the ocean? The force or the energy is transferred to the surface water, due to which the ocean water also moves in a circular motion as the molecules of the water gets activated. Ocean waves are the movement of energy through the water molecules causing them to rise and fall. So they move in a train or they move consecutively and have a high and low part of the wave. As the energy is transferred to the water, ripples are formed in lakes and waves in the oceans. The stronger the wind, the larger the waves. As you can see in the diagram, the highest part of the wave is called as the wave crest, and the lowest part of the wave is called as the wave trough. Now the vertical distance between the crest and the wave trough is called as amplitude or wave height. Now the wavelength is actually the distance between two consecutive wave crests and two consecutive wave troughs. As waves are continuous motions, there is a term called as a storm surge. So what is a surge? A surge is a sudden movement of water, an abnormal increase in the height and the level of water. This is due to the storms, or if there is sudden tsunami or an earthquake in the ocean water. Another type of ocean movement are the tidal waves, which are basically irregular, reoccurring shallow water waves, which are caused because of the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon and that of the earth on the ocean. The earth does not have the potential to hold so much of ocean water because of its movements. So gravity helps to hold the water and stay in its place. The moon's gravity pulls the ocean water on the earth, causing waves to form, an up and down movement of the ocean waves. Now, when the moon is closest, the one side of the earth which is facing the moon experiences most of the high tides. The gravitational forces of the sun to a great extent and the moon pull on the oceans, causing the oceans to swell on either sides of the earth. Now, the side closest to the moon and the side which is farthest from the moon. A diurnal tide or an area having a diurnal tide is when it has a cycle or one high and one low tide cycle over a lunar day. Most of the tides are semi-diurnal. That means there are two tides, two high tides and two low tides each day. Now let's talk about the different types of tides that occur on the earth. High tides. They are the tides at its fullest when the water reaches its highest level. High tide is on the side of the earth facing the moon. High tides is when water covers much of the shore or the beaches after rising to its highest level. They can also endanger the surrounding or the adjoining places as well as the buildings and the people who are there on the shore. The Bay of Fundy, which lies between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick provinces and touches the US state of Maine, is known for its extremely high tides. They are the highest in the world. Then there is the spring tide and the neap tide. Now, spring tide does not have to do anything with the spring season. It is a tide which is just after a new or a full moon when there is the greatest difference between the high and the low water. When the sun and the moon are in line with each other, they pull the ocean surface in the same direction. This causes higher high tides and lower low tides. These tides are known as spring tides. Now, the spring tides occur twice each lunar month all year long with regard to the season. The third type of tides are the neap tides, which occurs with the sun, the moon and the earth when they are at right angles. Now, they form regular high tides, but the lower tides become much lower than usual. Now, the neap tides occur twice a month and 7 days after a spring tide, and it refers to a period of moderate tides. The time between a low and a successive high tide is somewhat more than 6 hours. The time difference between spring tide and neap tide is 7 days in accordance with the phases of the moon. Perigee spring tide is a tide that occurs 3 or 4 times a year when a perigee coincides with a spring tide. So, perigee is a position of the moon when it is closest to the earth, that is a full moon or a new moon. And apogee is the position of the moon when it is farthest away from the earth, where the effect of its gravity is really less, and as a result the high tides are also lower than usual. Another important term in tidal phenomena is called tidal bore, in which the leading edge of the incoming tide forms a wave or a number of waves, and they flow over the water of the river or a narrow bay and reverse the direction of the river or the bay's current.